Hi, Star Wars fans! We're so excited to be here today to talk about this amazing playset. I'm Emily from the Star Wars design team.
And I'm Chris.
And this is the Star Wars The Vintage Collection, Boba Fett's Throne Room.
Yeah, let's get into it. There's so much to see here on this thing. And this is really taking our world building to another level.
It is. What we thought is today that we would share a little more behind the scenes and what it took for us to develop this playset, some of the stuff we explored and went through, and some of the details behind these scenes. So this one, this is the first time I feel like that we've really taken a screenshot and pulled it right out into physical reality.
Yeah, it really is. And it's such a long way. I mean, growing up when I did, I had this. Bring this out. This is what the throne room playset was for so many of us for so long. And you can just see how dwarfed it is by this thing, just how much more immersive we are with what we're doing now.
But that incredible history got us here.
It did. And in 1983 versus 2023.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So some of the things that went into how we developed this one, and I think it all started with, honestly, really great partnership and incredible reference from Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
So Lucasfilm gave us the most amazing photography of the set that they built for The Mandalorian and for the Book of Boba Fett. And they just really took a ton of pictures of that room, and we were able to dig through that behind the scenes. And honestly, I was in there just like charting it out and taking a little screenshot of every single little piece on here for our sculptors, naming all those, like Chalice 1, Goblet 2.
Well, and I think too, like, you can see in the show just how much passion that production team had for the classic stuff, all the way down to little things like that little shell on the back wall.
Absolutely.
Just obscure little background minutia that you might not even have noticed in the original movies.
I think it's inspiring how they took a look at this and were like, no, this is that same room from Return of the Jedi, but more has happened here and more will continue to happen here because this is Star Wars history.
Yeah, it really is.
So LFL's, honestly, reference was so awesome. And some of the things that inspired us from seeing their behind the scenes of the set that they used was even stuff as far as like, we were able to see shots that are kind of like behind the throne in that set and tell that the way they built the set actually had these openings on the side for the actors to enter behind the walls. And that was like, oh, that's so cool because that actually works really great for setting up a play set, that sort of side access. So even stuff that was, down to how they built the set inspired this play set. Right.
Well, and things too, stuff that just helps with lighting on set and gives dynamic lighting. These grates on the back that are built into it so that if you've got really raking light from the top, you get kind of the same effects on the show. All that stuff.
Absolutely. We used that inspiration, as you can see from that shot at the end of Mandalorian Season 2, where there's like stripy lighting down the back wall. We used that inspiration and created this grill that could, if light hits it at the right angle, it can actually recreate that type of lighting.
Right.
So we had to talk about one of our favorite moments of photographing this whole set was just recreating the shot.
The shot.
Yeah. The shot was the end of Mandalorian Season 2, where you see Boba Fett take this throne from Bib Fortuna. Fennec is leaning on the side. She's the right-hand lady. And they were such a cool duo, such a powerful moment, and really the shot that inspired us to make this.
Right.
So these, I have to, clarify, these are not included in the set. These figures can be purchased separately, but they're so much fun to pose in this world.
They are. And it's the moment that it became Boba Fett's throne room.
I know. It's not Bib Fortuna's throne room. It's
not
Boba
anymore,
Fett's
no. He's
room.
a carcass at this point.
This was such a fun little moment, and we love posing this set with these two in the mix because they just bring it all together.
Yeah.
Really, this is a daimyo crime lord's throne, and this is the future saga of this scene. But this set actually looks a little better with moody lighting that kind of recaptures how dark and gritty the Mandalorian show is.
It really does. And you can see that, even in the original trilogy, how dark that set is overall. But you guys did a great job recreating that on those reveal photos. Super fun. Just showing how much texture and depth there is to this thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I love in those shots too, like with Fett sitting on the throne. That leads into another thing that I love about this is how much time you guys spent working on making sure that figures would sit on that throne properly. Whether it was Bib Fortuna in his new larger bulk or Fett or whoever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't like to take it for granted that a figure that I'm designing is definitely going to fit on some chair unless I've really tried that out because of just past experience in toy design. So I said, we work so much digitally now, but it has to go physical at some point.
Mhm.
So actually, part of my process was using my own home 3D printer here just to print out iterations of this throne to make sure that our figures can sit on it well. And actually, the first time we printed the file where we had just like carefully looked at the reference from the set, that it was actually too tall in the seat and the figures, legs were kind of dangling like in a kiddie chair. So, we got to lower the seat down a little, make sure that they've got their feet planted, make sure that Boba Fett can sit in there with the depth of his jetpack if you want him to sit with his jetpack on. And actually even, for me, I didn't want to stop there. I was like, thinking about like what's going to happen in this room, and this is not canon. I have no information.
Emily's brain canon.
This is Emily fan art. But I was like, what if Mando takes the throne someday? Got to make sure that Mando sits. Again, this is pure speculation. We're like, thinking about making sure it's an evergreen piece. And then again, depth to fit Bib Fortuna himself on that throne.
Right. Well, and even the height of the seat too, just how big Bib is and how big all his legs and everything else are, just making sure all that worked well so that he could sit and look natural on there instead of feeling like he was in a high chair or something.
Absolutely. So this is lowest resolution 3D printing, but just printing these out iteratively helps us to, make sure we're capturing the way that these things are going to physically interact right from the start.
Yeah. Well, man, I look around the front of this thing every time. There's so many little details too. And all the way down to, I think my favorite is probably this little droid head over here.
The droid head is great. I think I said it on our past live stream, but like droids need to look for other jobs. Droids
well, they should not
come to this palace.
Yeah. This palace is not the best employment home for
because it's not just that somebody ripped off that droid's head. They had to put it on a platter. I think as well, right next to it, I like the bowl of dates because that's so ancient Greece. That's so like, bring me my figs while I'm on my throne.
Well, all that stuff too. I mean, that's some of that reference we got, where it's the reference that was taken for the new show is just so detailed, and all the little bits and bobbles in here are straight from that reference. So just the ability to fill it out, the rugs, the pillows, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Even the little tapestries that are laying across the surface that are actual soft goods, die cut is little animal skin rugs.
There's a piece I like in the back here that is probably far in the back of some of our photography, but there's a little drum. And I just love the idea that, again, somebody's just picking that, up in the back there. Somebody's just picking that up and drumming because this is a party throne. So another thing that we thought about, we can put that one away.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of little fun stuff.
So another thing that we thought about as we designed this playset is how is this going to work in your collection, in your room, and on your shelf?
Right.
So one of the things I love about this, it's a simple thing, but this is a shelf depth playset. I know that some of our, no offense, Chris, some of our Razor Crests and Katanas are big.
They're big, yeah.
Some people have limited space. What I would say about this set is that it's packed dense, it's big, but it's actually shelf dimensions. This is gonna fit on your standard 12-inch shelf very nicely.
Yeah, well, I think that's something we do take into consideration on most of our play sets. Well, all of our play sets really, and even the barge and the Razor Crest, those things, we look at that. But I mean, obviously, the Razor Crest is a hugely wide ship, so that one we have the ability to take off an engine, but the display base itself is capable of sitting on the shelf. This one, the whole thing nests on a nice shelf.
It does.
And you can display your other sets next to it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can display the Jabba's Palace Adventure set next to this one on a shelf. It's going to look really nice in the world together. We did look at ways for that to connect, but found that, they're going to have different elevations. So it just wasn't quite right to connect them. But they're going to shelf display alongside each other to make a really great world of Tatooine. Yeah.
And this thing and I think the platform of this, just how it's raised up, is really going to accentuate how figures are displayed on this. And there's so much space to display pretty much every Jabba's Palace denizen you have in your collection on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
to me, it feels as much like a figure display environment as a playset. It's not just the throne room; it's a place to showcase your figures.
For sure. We even talked about there's probably going to be fans that want to display their Kenner collection within this setting.
Yeah, which I love. I mean, managing
Resident
the retro stuff
guy,
and,
yeah.
and having a large vintage Kenner collection, retro figures of my own. Yeah, it's so much fun just to think about that. So
yeah, I love the way that would look.
Just we keep talking about details, but my gosh, there's how many pieces in here? 50 some accessories?
There are 50 accessories in this set. Now that is counting Bib Fortuna's staff over there as the last piece. But yes, there are 50 accessories in this playset. So yeah, awesome little stuff that you can just rearrange, tell stories with, different meat for the spit on the grill, all of those little goblets and things. And they can be rearranged in any variety of ways.
Yeah, that's something I really love about it, is that you don't have to, it's not fixed to this scene. You can change it, you can move those things around, you can take them out. You can take the throne actually off of the dais. You can take that out. You can put, if you've got the sail barge, you can grab your Jabba from that. He fits up on that throne too, or on the dais. So I know we've had some people ask about that. There's a Jabba out of a barge. Fits on there good.
Let's take a moment and set that up. So we took a minute and we set that up because we just know there's a lot of fans that have been asking to see it. This is actually the Jabba the Hutt from the 2019 HasLab Jabba sail barge item. And we just wanted to show what one of your Jabba items, and again, this is separately purchased. This is not included with this set. But we just wanted to show, if you have a Jabba from past purchases, what that looks like in this throne environment. And he looks awesome.
He does. I think this might be the first time I've actually set him in there. I know you've done it previously, looking at the whole design of this thing, but that's the first time I've seen him in there.
It's starting to bring to life that Return of the Jedi fantasy.
It really does, yeah. I want my classic Fett and all my classic figures in there with him now. So,
in fact, let's bring up our Kenner Jabba the Hutt.
This guy.
Yeah, what does he look like in there?
Drop him in there. This is so
incredible.
Crazy, but yeah, it's great. I think that it just speaks to how much effort you guys put into making this so deluxe and so authentic. It showcases anything you put in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And having the arch, it's part of the design from the show, but the arch just frames everything nicely and really showcases whatever you put in there. So yeah, that's fun.
The original slug.
Yeah. But figured we'd talk to you guys a little bit about the special figure for this playset. And Boba Fett, it is Boba Fett's throne room now, but he got it from somebody else.
He sure did, by force. So we knew that as we approached this scene, there was one figure that was going to make such a great exclusive figure for this playset, and it had to be Bib Fortuna. And this actually went through some rounds of discussion internal to the team, because often when we're trying to fund, building a big new playset, we'll often go with a pretty efficient or a partial or sometimes existing figure, so that tooling can all really go toward the playset. But this time, it was like, if we're going to bring this scene together, it's got to be Bib. He's got to be all new tooling.
Yeah.
He's got to be that exclusive one moment, and this is the perfect time to do him.
Yeah, and it was fun to do something so special for the set. I mean, there's not a piece on him that's from something else. He's all new and just really fun that way. And I don't think he's a figure that most people would have wanted in mainline.
But if you're here,
but if you're here, if you're this fan who wants this playset and loves this playset, like so many people do, he's a must-have figure.
Absolutely.
So it was a perfect pairing of the two of them.
And he's got such incredible details. Now, we talked last time through one of the most amazing details that he has, which is the Kenner staff. That's a staff piece that Kenner originally designed just for the toy of the original Bib Fortuna in the original 96. Original. And that staff piece, actually, the show took that inspiration from the toy and gave it to him in live action for the first time in the Book of Boba Fett, which that was such a fun little nugget for our team.
Full circle sort of thing, yeah, to have toys influence production and then to come back.
toy to show to toy again
Yeah.
was so cool. And honestly, there's so many other amazing details on him. We really went in for a washed gecko over his head because you just have to highlight each of those 5 chins. And, he's such a cool grizzly alien. And then, honestly, there's really cool deco on his chest. He's got all of these little jewels that are all in individual color. But then one of my favorite, little details that I found while we were examining his reference assets was he's got, this orange dust across his chest, right under his chin that is, it's straight up, cheesy poof dust. That fell onto his chest.
He's not the cleanest eater.
He's not super clean. And we cracked up. We had to recreate it. So you'll actually see a little orange smear on this character's chest.
Well, which was fun too, because during the production of this thing, when we go through Paint Masters and all that stuff, it actually got corrected.
Yeah.
By
someone was like, "Oh, that must be an error, a smudge."
Somebody got a fingerprint on there or something, and it wasn't. Yeah. It's actually from the reference.
I had to be like, "No, that's not a smear. That's totally correct. That's his very iconically accurate cheesy dust." So that just cracked us up while we were studying this character. He's so great. We looked into recreating the fabric pattern straight from the fabric they used for his skirt, which they must have custom created for the show because it's such a cool sort of abstract pattern. And then just capturing the layers of his soft goods in a fun way.
Yeah, and the soft goods on him are really amazing. I just digging through the layers of it. There's so many layers there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had a really fun time actually with both of our bib Fortunas, him and the younger bib, just creating that layered cape. It's really fun.
It's really deluxe. I love it. Yeah.
So we can't really talk about this playset without giving the biggest shout out to the Hasbro Sculpture team. Because actually, to believe it or not, it was 4 different Hasbro sculptors who worked on this project across the span of it. And all of them brought such incredible dedication and detail into this item. And were just a joy to work with to bring it to life. Took a full team sometimes, jumping in on all these little bits, all of these textures, which are just awesome.
The textures on this thing, it's mind-blowing. I mean, all the base, all the bumps on the fronts of the stairs. And I know the base of this thing is one of the most complicated pieces in here. There's sand in the corners. There's the texture on the front of the stairs, on the sides, on the top. It's a massive mold with slides coming off of every direction just to get all that detail and keep it as authentic as we could. For sure.
Sculpting it is step 1, and our team did such an amazing job. But then our production team did an incredible job with what became really complex molds. So if a mold pulls front to back, but then you've got detail on every side, sometimes you're pulling a slide from the mold to capture those textures coming at different angles. And this floor piece and this archway became just incredible feats of molding that we went through rounds on to ensure that this is going to come out beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like you said, the sculpture team on this thing, it really was. It was everybody. All hands on deck to get through this thing with all the little details. I mean, looking at all the vases and the little tiny neural details and texture around the tops of them, the meat on the spit and all the texture that's on that thing. And just the engineering that went into making sure you could even turn it and assemble all these bits and pieces.
Mm-hmm. I remember just talking about the texture on the back wall because we were talking it through and I remember going, oh no, it's not really cement texture in the reference. It's more like plaster that got too wet and patches of it crumbled off. And just capturing that kind of detail that looks just like that Lucasfilm photography of the set was such a feat for them, and they did so great.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Everywhere you look on this thing, there's just more and more little details. And I love that. There's no surface left untouched here. It's around every corner. And, oh, there's a chip there. And I look back here on the back shelf and there's the fine mesh texture there. And under the shelf, there's the little pipes underneath there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things that are mostly
filigree
obscured.
On the grill. Yeah.
But way back in there, just the little nooks and crannies of the set, the little vents with the insides in them. Just that the tops of table surfaces aren't perfect.
Yeah, that was the absolute fun of this, was just bringing it to life with the gritty realness that they bring to the Star Wars, productions that is so good.
Yeah. I love the little dog heads on the front of the throne and their little separate rings. And then the great patina wash that's on those guys. So much fun. The little Rancor heads on the throne. It really is. Everywhere you go, there's just more to see. And every time I look at this thing, I see new stuff.
For sure.
The little coins in the coin purse. And for you, like you were the designer on this. What was your challenge here? What was the thing that took all the time for you?
Sure. So a little bit of real talk for you guys. We wanted to be authentic and discussing what was challenging for us about this playset. And to be honest, after all of the incredible work that we did with the sculpt team and the painters and everyone and with Lucasfilm, this playset almost didn't come out. And that's just because, to be honest, often the fans aren't able to see this side of it. But in the post-COVID world, toy production has changed a lot. And in particular, the costs of it have gone up quite a bit. Yeah. And so quickly that a comparison to even a year ago is hard. And it really put a threat on this playset. But in the end, coming together as a team, we believed in this scene, in this location, and in how many fans have been waiting for years for that incredible Tatooine Palace location. And, just believing in that, we had to make sure that this came out in the right way. So there was a time when all that work was keeping us a little nervous.
It is. It's a harrowing time. I mean, the world's a different world than it was 2 years ago, but it dovetailed so nicely into this new kind of thing we wanted to do and a new type of product in partnership with Pulse to really bring something like this out and celebrate something bigger than any other playset we had done.
For sure.
With more detail and all the richness of that.
And finding the right way to bring that to market is, us and our marketing partners, we felt Pulse was the right home for this because you can get that pre-order in, you can ensure that you're going to get one. Right. And, this is just going to be such a good expression for the vintage line. Yeah,
it really is. And I love the fact that we're able to do a pre-order with this and really make sure that everyone who wants one can get one. I think that's key to this thing. Because it's so big, wanted to make sure everybody had enough time to come up with funds for it. We know it's a pricey thing, but man, I think we've over-delivered on what that is for where we are now too. And it's a shocking piece in person. Every time I see it, it's bigger than my memory makes it. And it's huge. I mean,
it is.
It's more than half the size of the barge. And even deeper. It's crazy. So I really love it. It's great. And you guys did such a fantastic job.
It's a whole awesome team.
Yeah.
So that brings us to a great reminder. Make sure, guys, that you head over to Hasbro Pulse to pre-order this incredible playset on the Pulse. You're going to want to bring home this throne room.
Yeah, right. Spread the word. Make sure your friends don't miss out either.
You could own the throne.